Techno Nationalism, Part 4 The Way Forward. The objective of this series has been to put forth a general philosophy or ideology that can drive the next stage of Western civilization. One that is pro-human, compatible with God, in line with the laws of nature, technologically oriented, and in the end, positive and constructive. We have laid the foundations for this in the first 3 parts of this series by asking the following key questions. In part 1, we asked, can a society be both culturally traditional and technologically advanced? In part 2, we introduced a moral framework for technological innovation and asked, what are examples of good and bad technologies? In part 3, we asked, to what end greater efficiency? And now in part 4, we ask, what is the way forward? We will answer this question by A. Introducing and defining techno-nationalism, and B. Laying out 16 core tenets that will underpin and guide it. Let's begin. An intro to techno-nationalism. Let's start with what techno-nationalism is not. It is not a political party or faction, though political parties and movements could spring from it or be inspired or influenced by it. Nor is it a rigid ideology. It is a priority framework. At its base level, it contends that after honouring God or a higher power, attaining and maintaining a strong and healthy national and communal spirit is the highest priority or aim of society. This is because if the people's spirit is strong, if they are optimistic, confident, energetic, and moral, then the rest will flow from that, be it economic success, useful technological innovation, healthy living, creative endeavour, and more. This is putting the horse before the cart. The horse is spirit, the cart is the rest. After all, a people who are jaded, cynical, confused, pessimistic, racked with guilt and doubt, petty-minded, weak, comfort-seeking, and the list goes on, will fail to produce positive results. Their spirit is broken, and a broken spirit can only produce a broken society and nation. So too will a ruling class whose spirit is corrupted, who lust for riches at any cost, who obsess over fame and looking good rather than being good, and who embrace all kinds of degeneracy and injustice, add to this brokenness. So, techno-nationalism at its core is spirit. If the spirit is strong and healthy, then anything is possible for a people and their nation. They can truly move mountains. But it doesn't end there, for the context matters too. The most powerful force on earth, apart from God and the human spirit, is technology. As we've covered throughout this series, and in my Western Civilization 4.0 series, technology isn't going away. So we need an explicit understanding of and plan for how to live with it. For how to live in a technological society without it undermining God and the human spirit. This is a key challenge for our time and perhaps for this millennium. So to summarize, techno-nationalism is a priority framework that places God above humans and humans above technology. It is context-based, i.e. relevant for an age where technology threatens to usurp humans and dishonour God. The age is this new millennium, which has begun with a bang, with a global interconnected digital network, which we call the Internet, becoming integral to the functioning of our society, with visual, oral, haptic devices becoming a physical and psychological extension of our being, as in the case of smartphones, and now with digital and mechanical agents presenting an alternative to human ingenuity and endeavour, as with AI and robots. So That's the high-level view. Let's now go into more detail and examine the 16 core tenets of techno-nationalism. 16 tenets. Number 1. God first. The reason this is first is because without a higher power and a higher purpose to fulfill, we are lost. Lost in space, lost in time, very likely a lost cause. In this vast and expanding universe, we are conscious specks who could disappear at any moment, and the universe would barely notice or care. Without God, we have no foundation for objective morality or for believing the good win in the end. Our words and deeds will be judged by no one and nothing of substance. Even the richest, most powerful, most renowned men on earth are but insignificant specks who exist for a brief glimmer of time. But what if this is all true? Should we dismiss this merely because we don't like it? Well, they say a little knowledge will lead you away from God, and great knowledge will lead you closer to Him. The more we discover about life, the laws that govern the universe, and increasingly the power of mathematics and algorithms, the more clear I'd say it becomes that whatever this existence is the result of conscious design. Call it what you want, the natural world, the temporal realm, a simulation, but someone or something is likely responsible for it. When we've tried to pin down who or what is responsible for it and what they want us to do here, we have traditionally turned to religion. There are many religions, several of which are adhered to by hundreds of millions, up to billions of people, whether culturally or dogmatically. The religion of the West is Christianity. It is most plausible to Western believers because it is our tradition and most aligned with our collective character and way of looking at the world. Are the other religions wrong? If Christianity is true, they most definitely are. Though some people hold that all major religions are true and are different cultures' ways of expressing the underlying truths of our existence. Regardless, Western man is ill-suited to Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, and all the other mainstream religions out there. So, as it stands today, it is Christianity or nothing. Perhaps Jesus returns then, or perhaps a third biblical testament is written, maybe focusing on the third Godhead, the Holy Spirit. Maybe there's a revolution within the church, or perhaps something entirely new takes its place. Whatever happens, a techno-nationalist West cannot be without religion, or without a humility towards a higher power. If Christianity is our only option, so be it. Number 2. Human supremacy. Humans are higher in the pecking order than AI and robots. We must never forget this. To do so is to all but guarantee our extinction in the long run. Even with God looking over us, if we choose to elevate this artificial life above us, then our destruction is on us, not on God. This is the price of free will. This is not to say we cannot use robots and AI in highly specialized contexts, like defense and advanced space exploration, but using them to replace everyday human labor and endeavor, relegating us to unemployed status and to recipients of universal basic income, must never be tolerated. We should have all learnt our lesson by now, for we've seen multiple slippery slopes in action in our own lifetimes, in the areas of immigration, LGBT+, feminism, money and the economy, and more. The development of AI and robots within a moral framework of unrestrained freedom and progress and anything goes is the next slippery slope, and if we let it, it will ruin us. So we back imperfect and inefficient humanity over perfect and efficient AI and robots. Number 3. Western primacy. Whilst we favour humans over artificial life, we don't stop there. Amongst humans, there is also a pecking order. Techno Nationalism is unapologetically nativist and exclusive. This means we back Westerners and Western civilization first. This is in contrast to our current system and ideology, which is globalist and inclusive, where any and all peoples are welcomed, no matter how adverse an impact they have on our nations and civilization. Western primacy means there's no free ride for opportunistic and self-serving or antagonistic outsiders. There's no automatic right to settle in our lands. And if some do enter, they forfeit the privilege of importing their incompatible religions, cultures, or practices. They adapt to ours or are deported swiftly. As Westerners, we need to back ourselves fully. No foreign nations or peoples will do this for us. They will back themselves. They will also take advantage of our weakness and stupidity and exploit our values and wield them against us. In short, we must believe we are the chosen ones. The Jewish people once believed this about themselves, and perhaps still do today. But they both forsook and were forsaken by their God. So the mantle lies with us. We either carry it with pride and humility, yes, the two are compatible, or perhaps it passes on to another group. Our chosen status isn't guaranteed. Number 4. Forward duty. We have a duty to serve not just ourselves, but to serve our descendants who will inherit and build on the legacy that we leave them. We must view life and civilization as an unbreakable continuum through time and space, and act with care and responsibility toward the future. This I call fulfilling our forward duty. In practice, this means having an economic system that is sustainable long-term, a political system that is just as focused on the future as it is on the present, a belief and value system that is constructive and uniting, etc. These things aren't impossible or even out of reach. It's just that it's hard to have them when you're operating within a short-term system and with a short-term mindset. Forward duty requires a solidarity with the future that unfortunately many today lack. If as a society we're only interested in the now, in getting what we want at the expense of the future, then we are no different to a junkie. It's all about our next high. Damn your children, damn society, damn tomorrow. We must do better. Our descendants, though unborn, are depending on us to have the foresight and courage to do what is right. Let's do better than our recent ancestors who made choices which we, their descendants, are paying dearly for today. For more on the concept of forward duty, check out Civilization, Paying It Forward. Number 5. Duty to power. You've probably heard of the will to power, a concept developed by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Interpretations abound about its true and precise meaning. But we could take it to mean, at least partly, a force that drives a higher type of human, in his words, an Übermensch or Overman, to grow their power and influence in the world, forge their own morality and values, and overcome any personal and societal limitations. It is an individualistic and self-serving force, even if, as he seems to claim, it is a fundamental component of life and existence. Techno Nationalism, by contrast, embodies a duty to power. Power comes from God. In the temporal realm, aka our physical reality, it is exercised on his behalf. We do not pursue it for its own sake, to satisfy our private ambition, greed, or lust, but pursue it because it is the right thing to do. It isn't so much a privilege as a burden, not a pleasure, but rather, as the name suggests, a duty. To spurn this duty is to let the wicked, corrupt, and functionally godless claim the reins of power. This means they rule over us for no better reasons than A, they want to, and B, no one stops them. Power-hungry people like this are a dime a dozen. Yes, some are talented, some adept at playing the game, some persuasive, but usually they're out to serve themselves. They fully embody the subjective and amoral will to power. The duty to power, therefore, is as much about blocking such people's route to power and removing them from power where applicable, as it is about attaining and wielding power because we must, because we can and will do good with it. All this whilst acknowledging there is no perfect system by which to govern humans, but there are good and comparatively better ones. Moreover, duty in service to our Creator trumps will, whose origin lies in the human ego. The former pursuit of power is superior to the latter then, for no human, no matter how great, can compete with the will of God. Number 6. Dynamic governance. This is about turning government into a lean, mean governing machine. To achieve this, 4 courses of action are necessary. The first is to eliminate the bloated, parasitic bureaucracy that rules our nations. Anywhere from 60 to 80% of civil service, deep state, and quasi-governmental jobs that exist today need to be abolished. What Elon Musk did to Twitter, we must do to the state. We're not doing this to be vengeful or out of recklessness, but doing it because this bureaucracy, or swamp, has become the enemy of Western peoples and nations. Whether individuals within this swamp are well-meaning or malevolent, intelligent or stupid, competent or incompetent, is irrelevant. We must judge the swamp as a whole and by the fruits it produces. And today, those fruits are subversion, division, waste, corruption, degeneracy, and destruction. It's just too rotten to save, and it must go. The second course of action is to introduce technology that streamlines the process of governing our nations. This isn't about replacing jobs, but rather about enabling those who have important and necessary government jobs to work smarter and produce better results. The right technology can help to reduce or eliminate silos, bottlenecks, and inefficient processes, as well as increase transparency, innovation, and stakeholder engagement. It's simply not possible today to govern tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people effectively and efficiently without embracing technological solutions. They are essential. The third course of action is to phase out mass voting, also known as democracy. Today, this system is counterproductive and a waste of time, energy, and resources. It facilitates short-term opportunistic thinking, kicking the can down the road, and torching the future for gains in the present. It neither works in theory nor in practice. It is merely a cover for oligarchy and plutocracy. In other words, it's a show, or make-believe for adults. The longer this show drags on, the longer we will suffer and decline as a people and civilization. To turn things around, we need bold, decisive, visionary leadership that's unhindered by corporate interests, party politics, or majority opinion. We need to focus not just on the short term and on making a buck, but on the long term and on making our civilization great again. I go into more detail on the subject of democracy in Why the Majority Won't Save Us. In short, though, the time has again arisen for executive power to reign. The fourth course of action is an ongoing one. It is guarding against the sly and subtle enemy that is complacency. This is a slow killer of civilizations, and the counter to it is A, to remain vigilant, and B, to keep pushing and striving for better practices and outcomes from government. Our governments should run similar to the most innovative and productive companies in the private sector today. Number 7. Mission technology. As we've explored in this series, technology can be used for good or evil purposes, and for anything in between. I will not rehash the argument here, but will build upon it by introducing the concept of mission technology. This is an umbrella term for any technology which elevates the human spirit, encourages goodness, and advances our mission in the cosmos. This is in contrast to degenerate technology, much of which is today online, but which, if we let it, will begin to migrate offline too, in this age of robotics, AI, and augmented/virtual reality. Degenerate technology is that which facilitates or encourages the deadly sins of excessive pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. If we're to live in a society where technology is pervasive, then it must be moral technology. It must align with the will of our Creator. Technology is just too dangerous and harmful if used in the wrong way. We therefore have an explicit policy of encouraging mission technology and discouraging degenerate technology, the latter through law or by force. Number 8. Good profit. We need to do the whole prosperity thing differently. Pure profit-seeking is amoral and at odds with God's plan. We want to preserve the positive elements of our economic system, like competition and innovation, but reduce the negative elements, like worshipping profit as the be-all and end-all. This is where good profit comes in, a concept I introduced in The Profit Men Who Control the West. Good profit preserves the useful and constructive elements of the marketplace, but adds a moral component too. By adding the qualifier good, we acknowledge that moral behaviour is expected not just of humans, but of businesses too. What I'm describing here isn't simply about introducing more regulations, i.e. imposing rules from without, but is instead about baking into the DNA of how a business is operated and measured the duty to do good. Yes, we all know you can make money by appealing to man's fallen nature, by drugging him, making him mentally and physically addicted to consumption, by bombarding his senses, and so on. But it shouldn't be a race to the bottom. We can and must do better. Number 9. National production. The West has committed the grave error of outsourcing our manufacturing capabilities to foreign nations and civilizations. This has put us in a vulnerable position, both economically and politically. The driver for this was, of course, globalization, including reducing costs and increasing profits. But it has gone way too far, and the bulk of our production needs to be brought in-house again. We're moving towards a multipolar world, and relying on nations we're at odds with and could potentially be in direct conflict with in the future is a fool's game. Moreover, we lose our expertise and edge in this all-important sphere when we outsource it to other peoples and nations. Our loss becomes their gain, and we become dependent on them to boot. National production, by contrast, bestows many benefits. It makes us more resilient, boosts local industry, creates opportunity, keeps skills and know-how in-house, and more. In the 21st century, it is costly and risky to do anything other than this. Number 10. Cryptographic money. The cryptocurrency industry, space, movement, whatever you want to call it, has grown rapidly and exponentially over the past decade and a half. Bitcoin has now reached a valuation of over $100,000 per coin, and it is a mainstream investment vehicle via ETFs. Hundreds of millions of people around the world own crypto of one kind or another, and venture capital firms are pouring billions of dollars into crypto projects and companies each year. Finally, with the election of Donald Trump, who has launched his own coin, government opposition to crypto seems a thing of the past. Like it or not then, crypto is here to stay. In this age of algorithms and digitalization, it is indeed the next evolution of money. If this is the medium then, what is the future? Who will be the issuer of a nation's digital money? Central banks, central governments, state or regional governments? Will it be the private sector, or will it be decentralized protocols? It could in truth be any of these. Government-issued digital currencies would be a problem if administered by tyrannical governments, but maybe less so if managed by more enlightened ones. Regardless, it may be safer to have multiple established and trusted cryptocurrencies outside the direct control of government, so that if things do turn sour, people have a way to transact. These currencies could be backed by real-world assets like gold, land, natural resources, property, companies, and more. Or they could be self-contained and derive their value from their scarcity, as in the case of Bitcoin, or their utility, as in the case of Ethereum. The value of these currencies would also, probably through necessity, stabilize through time so that more people trust and use them. In truth, though, money is one of those spheres where there won't be perfect solutions, just better or worse ones. A mix of centralized and decentralized currencies, both public and private, is the logical way forward. Number 11. Land, sea, and air defense. The political establishment, academia, non-profits, the media, and all the other bureaucratic leftist midwits out there like to use the clinical, sanitized, and dead term, the environment, to describe nature. This term is so generic and lifeless, and I believe it betrays how disconnected these people are from nature and reality. Are you committed to protecting the environment? Well, what environment is that? A corporate environment? Laboratory environment? Regulatory environment? We don't walk on, swim in, or breathe in an environment. We walk on the land, swim in the sea, and breathe in the air. Land, sea, and air. The stance of techno-nationalists is that we should take care of these, that we shouldn't pollute or destroy them, and that the state of our home, bestowed to us by God and our ancestors, is a reflection of our values, morals, and one could say, holiness, or lack thereof. If you wouldn't live in a filthy and toxic home, for what would that say about you if you did, then why would you live on a filthy, toxic planet? If we care about our nations, then we must take care of them. There is no glory or honor in living in and raising children in polluted nations. Doing so is embodying a me-first attitude, subscribing to short-term thinking, and basically throwing up a giant FU to your creator. Unfortunately, this whole sphere has been taken over and monopolized by our enemies, many of whom wouldn't survive 2 minutes in nature. These people feel little or no connection with the land, seas, and air. For them, it is an intellectual concept, which is why they refer to it in the abstract. It is also a strategy to help them gain more power and control over our society, an avenue to vent their envy and resentment, and a means to show off how holier than thou they are. It is, in short, critical that our side wrench their monopoly on nature off them. Defence of our nations extends to the state of our land, seas, and air. Cleanliness and order are close to godliness. Number 12. Space colonization. Our destiny lies in the stars. There is still much we don't know about our universe, and it is vast beyond belief. Estimates are that there are hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy, which likely means an even larger number of planets. And our galaxy is one of hundreds of billions and potentially trillions of galaxies in the observable universe. As for the parts of the universe we cannot observe, because the light has not reached us yet, there could be far more there too. The idea, therefore, that we should contain ourselves to one tiny, albeit wonderful planet, is silly. We have much to do and see in our solar system and galaxy, let alone the universe. We should think big and move earnestly in the direction of making human life multiplanetary. I've gone into more detail on this subject in part 2 of my Western Civilization 4.0 series, entitled Matrix or Space. But some core reasons for doing this include A. Protecting ourselves against a mass extinction event, be it due to natural, man-made, or external third-party causes. B. Giving us, aka Western man, a productive outlet for our creativity, ingenuity, and spirit of conquest. And C. Because it is our destiny and calling. We have a mission to fulfill in this universe, which perhaps will become clearer through time. Are there risks to journeying outwards to the stars? Yes. There are also risks with staying put. And the techno-nationalist stance is that there are both more and better reasons for journeying out. New Americas, Canadas, and Australias are all out there waiting to be discovered. And yes, colonised. Number 13. Prime justice. It's time to put justice front and centre in our society again. This means evil, destructive, corrupt, and traitorous people getting what they deserve. The punishments today for child abusers, murderers, violent thugs, rapists, thieves, drug dealers, and more are laughable. The consequences for the civil servants, non-profits, politicians, and judiciary who facilitate the invasion of our nations, the squandering of our wealth, and the endangerment of our children are non-existent. This state of affairs must change, and there are 5 key steps to changing it. First, by bringing back capital punishment. Child abusers, for example, should be hung, as should murderers, excluding those acting in self-defense. Add to this list manufacturers, distributors, and dealers of soul and body-destroying drugs like fentanyl, heroin, crystal meth, and the like. If someone commits a heinous evil, they will forfeit their right to live. They will be punished in this life by us and judged in the next life by God. Second, we will bring back corporal punishment. Those who assault people, steal, or willfully destroy public or private property will be flogged. Flogging could be a standalone punishment or be paired with prison depending on the crime. Third, on the subject of prison, it won't be a place to sit around all day chatting, scheming, or contemplating life. Criminals will be put to work to produce goods and services. They will work hard and long hours to repay their debt to society, as well as to alleviate any financial burden on the nation which is funding their lodging and sustenance. Fourth, trials will be streamlined, and appeals will be reserved only for cases where there is genuine doubt as to the guilt of the defendant. Gone will be the endless appeals and trials that drag on for years or even decades. If you did the crime, sentencing and punishment will be effective and swift. Fifth, seditious acts will be treated very seriously. Those who have betrayed their nation by facilitating in any way the invasion of it, legal or illegal, will, depending on how big a role they played in it, be terminated from their government employment, where applicable, and be barred from serving in any government position again. Have any ill-begotten income and assets confiscated, be put to work long hours in prison production facilities, or be subject to corporal or capital punishment. It could be one or a mix of these punishments. This also extends to those who have publicly and repeatedly lied or spread propaganda in support of seditious activities, or those who have funded it, as well as those who have discriminated against natives, or extensively promoted or advanced any subset of woke ideology. As for foreign peoples who reside within our borders, again legally or illegally, any whose presence proves a drain on our society, whether culturally, economically, socially, or politically, will be swiftly repatriated to their countries of origin, with zero right of appeal. This includes any who are law-abiding but covertly subversive or disloyal. In short, bad deeds by natives or foreigners will not go unpunished. This is necessary to restore a strong sense of justice to our society. Number 14. Virtuous values. We will promote and embody values such as duty, honour, strength, loyalty, courage, daring, and ingenuity. This will come from the top down, meaning we will lead by example. Of course, the Techno Nationalist isn't so naive to believe humans can be consistently noble and pure. Humans are imperfect and flawed. So these are ideals, and we acknowledge they are something to strive for, even if they are never fully met. But this is still superior to having outwardly degenerate and destructive values like those of the establishment today. Creating this new value paradigm will take time. We will utilize the vehicles of education, culture, laws, etc. to drive the change. Again, we're not asking for people to be saints here, but we are asking for them to embrace a better North Star, even if they fall short of the ideal. Number 15. Family and Community Foundation. Western families and communities have come under sustained attack by the forces of liberalism, globalism, consumerism, and wokeism. The result is high rates of divorce and perpetually single people. It is low fertility rates and high abortion rates. It is an unhealthy tension and antagonism between the sexes. It is broken, distrustful, and weak communities. It is all this and more. Regardless of the overriding political structure of the land, be it federal, national, or state or regional, we must cultivate a spirit not just of nationalism, but localism. Millions of strong families and thousands of local communities spread out throughout the land all add up to a strong people and nation. If these are weakened, the nation is weakened. If the nation is weakened, then it is simply a matter of time before we wither and die, collapse, or are invaded. How do we strengthen families and communities? by doing the opposite of what the aforementioned isms have done to weaken them. So, the opposite of liberalism means embracing a more religious and traditional approach to family and community. The opposite of globalism means bringing production back to our communities, cultivating and supporting local traditions and customs, and stopping the relentless tidal waves of legal and illegal immigrants, and the associated multicultural/diversity propaganda and policies that come along with it. The opposite of consumerism is taking back control of our emotions and senses, and reducing our diet of social media, television, video games, and superfluous activities. It means shifting our focus to more substantive, meaningful, and natural forms of emotional and sensory engagement. The opposite of wokeism is to accept basic and obvious truths about humans, life, and the world, rather than making up and promoting poisonous, damaging, and frankly idiotic fictions to explain it all. In short, when it comes to family and community, we return to basics. Number 16. Adaptation. This last tenet is key. Without the ability and willingness to adapt, any human-originated system or movement, including techno nationalism, is doomed to eventually lose its relevance, credibility, and power. The techno nationalist understands this and accepts that change is inevitable, and that new and unpredictable circumstances, events, and trends will emerge as sure as night follows day. Therefore, when it comes to areas like economics, geopolitics, and technology, etc., we are willing to adapt as needed. This doesn't mean we'll throw our values out the window. The preceding 15 tenets are foundational and will always remain so. Each fulfills a critical function. So much so, it's worth summarizing them again in short form. Tenet 1. Without God and religion, we're on the wrong side of universal history and are playing for the losing team. Tenet 2. If we fail to place humans above robots and artificial intelligence, we sign our own death, or rather extinction warrant. Tenet 3. If we elevate foreign peoples above ourselves, we throw away what makes us unique and set ourselves on the path to demographic and civilizational extinction. Tenet 4. By ignoring our duty to the future, we poison the well for those who come after us, which is both a grave sin and puts the long-term success of our peoples and nations in jeopardy. Tenet 5. When we think we are too noble or sophisticated to seek temporal power, the result is to empower wicked and corrupt rulers to rule over us. Tenet 6. Allowing our government to become bloated, inefficient, and corrupt benefits the very few, aka those on the take, and harms the overwhelming majority of people. It becomes self-serving and nothing good comes of it. Tenet 7. Developing any and every technology just because we can, because it's a cool challenge or because we'll make profit from it, is a sure way to ruin ourselves and our society. Technological development without a moral foundation is in theory amoral, in practice evil. Tenet 8. When the pursuit of profit at any cost becomes the North Star for our society, it ends up subverting our culture, values, and morals, and capturing our governments. In the end, it turns citizens of distinct nations into consumers in a generic global marketplace, and consumers won't stand up for or defend their nations. Tenet 9. If in the name of increasing profits and boosting consumption through lower prices, we ship our manufacturing expertise and capabilities overseas, then we become dependent on foreign and potentially antagonistic nations to supply us with the goods and services we need to live and keep our societies running. This puts us in a precarious position, socially, economically, and security-wise. Tenet 10. If we ignore that our system of money is broken, or if we acknowledge that it is, but believe that in a digital age the only solution is a return to analog money, like gold, then we are either headed for monetary collapse or for great disappointment. Tenet 11. When we pollute and poison our land, we disrespect our Creator and our ancestors who bestowed it unto us, and we shun our duty to our descendants to bestow it unto them. There is no glory in ruining our homes, or in the disease and ugliness that stems from such an act. Tenet 12. By limiting ourselves to one planet, we increase the likelihood that our species goes extinct someday. We're sitting in the extinction waiting room, idly waiting for our time to come. Tenet 13. Without a firm commitment to justice, we give the evil, violent, and depraved a green light to pursue their ends, which slowly but surely erodes trust, peace of mind, and hope within our society, and warps our sense of morality. Tenet 14. A people without noble values, without something good and wholesome to strive for, are easily led astray, prone to degeneracy, and can lose their sense of meaning and purpose in life. Tenet 15. Without the foundation of strong and healthy families and communities, a nation isn't a nation. It is a hollow economic zone. Personal and social dysfunction follows. Tenet 16. And we're back to adaptability again. And the point here is this. There will come a time when the letter of the law, as laid out in these tenets, becomes irrelevant or even counterproductive. But the spirit of it will not. Jesus once spoke of the distinction between following the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. It is the latter that is more important, lest as time goes on, we begin to miss the forest for the trees and become the very opposite of what we set out to be. So this is how we adapt to disruptive and major changes through time, while still retaining the essence or spirit of Techno Nationalism. Closing words. We have laid out here a philosophy, ideology, or better yet, a system that can underpin and guide the next stage of Western civilization. There's no resuscitating the modern West now. It is rotten and dying. We are focused on what comes next. Western Civilization 4.0. This new civilization, and this new millennium from which it stems, demands new ideas, energy, and leadership, which conservatives, liberals, libertarians, centrists, socialists, communists, globalists, and more cannot deliver. They are yesterday's men and women, and their ideas range from useless to suicidal. The battle for the future is thus between techno-utopianism and techno-nationalism. I hope I have made a compelling case, both in this series and in part 2 of my Western Civilization 4.0 series, for why we must reject the former and embrace the latter. All that remains now, then, is for us to step up. Destiny will manifest in the few, then spread out to the many. I believe the players that can make techno-nationalism a reality, even if they're not aware of it yet, are out there. And the next task is to assemble them. These players will be marked by their strength of spirit, will of iron, and zeal for the mission. And they will truly embody the saying that the best way to predict the future is to create it.